So I wanted to talk about this new feature that is in beta right now for Ableton. It's called Expressive Chords, and this is 12.2. And so basically it's an MP enabled Max for Live device for live 12 intro, standard, and suite. And it lets you explore these interesting chords and progressions intuitively. It's one key or pad at a time. In other words, it's just like when you have scalar on scalar lock, you can play one note, it'll play a chord, right? And so you create, it says outside the confines of the traditional keys and scales, go with what sounds good to you and use the MIDI and MPE controls to be more expressive and natural. Perfect. So now that that's out of the way, I'm going to show you how I'm planning on using it, and well, at least one way, and show you kind of around this little device. Okay, so I am going to delete this and start over so you can see it from scratch. Disregard all this right here. We're going to work in this mode as I am learning to use session mode, even though it's not typically how I would work. I'm just trying to, explore and expand a little bit. All right. So many of you know I love scalar. So here's some chords in scalar. These are my dark jazz chords. Now if I right click here, you see I can select all. So all of my chords all the way down are going to be highlighted. Okay, let's do it again. Select all. And I'm going to drag them to a track. So now if you click here, you'll see I have all of those chords. These are those chords. Okay. This device allows you to take these chords and bring them into a device, kind of like a scalar, where you can lock. You see these right here? This is how I lock these chords and I can play them in. So imagine having that in Ableton that can be used also in your push 3. You can use it with your regular keyboards or whatever you want to do. But now your scalar chords, or any chords for that matter that you bring in, can be played in here. You have the ability to adjust the tilt, the invert, have it strum, also be able to have it articulate a little bit. And this one right here, if I'm not mistaken, is basically like being able to strum up and down, okay? I'm going to turn that off for right now. You're looking at it right now in what I would call the push 3 mode, okay? And you can see the chord is labeled up here, but if you switch to the keys, you actually see what notes are being played. So I'm just going to start hitting random notes, and you'll see I'm only hitting one trigger, which you can't see. Let me turn this off so you have more room here, okay? But you can see it's playing these chords and it's strumming them, and then it's articulating. Now you can get really in depth in here and go in and adjust with the mod wheel. So you could have the mod wheel doing a certain amount of the adjustment, the velocity. You can have it. I have mine set to random variation, so it's a little different every time I hit it. That's kind of like your humanization, right? That you'd use in scalar. I don't think this completely replaces scalar, but what it does for me is if I decide to get the push, which eventually I think I will, this gives me something that can be used in the push in standalone. Whereas without this, or if you don't have scalar, but you have Ableton and you don't want to really invest in scalar, this gives you an option now to be able to use scalar chords, or any chords you find, you can bring them in. Because if you look down here, it says import chords from clips. Now I'm going to show you how to do this because it's not super clear. You think you just click it and it's going to work. What you have to actually do is click on, you have to have this on the actual track that this device is on. Click on it and then click import. And when you do that, you'll see it's imported in. So now all the chords are in there, okay? And if you want to test it, this track here, I have this going in, so it's going into this one. And if you look here, it's pulling from MIDI 7 right there. See, post. Just like over here, I would use scalar. See how I have scalar in here? Okay, so it's the same principle. So all right, so now we can play the chords. So this could actually go away if you didn't want to keep it up here. You don't need it. So we can just go ahead and delete it. We're going to get rid of this track because this was just a host to hold the MIDI. So we got it in. So now it's in. Oops. There we go. If you want, you could go in and name this what key and all that stuff and save it. So that way you could save all your packs, and then you would just have them, and you wouldn't have to do this every time. You could recall it as a preset. So that's the cool part about it, being able to import it. I'm going to move that down. We're going to go ahead and just show you how it plays. So I'm going to arm this track. I have some jazz drums going in the back, 90 BPM. I'm going to go ahead and press it, and I'll just start playing some random stuff. All right. So if you look up here, click, I actually hit this chord that I didn't mean. I'm going to adjust it. Usually if you press play, it'll automatically end it there. If you right click in here, you can crop to time selection, and there it is. So now if I press play, and you see it shows me the chords. And because I have that strum on, plus I have the randomization on, you'll notice all the notes are randomly placed at different timing. The velocities, that is, are all different. You could go further and randomize or deviate them. And you'll see the notes are slightly strummed. Now, they're all strummed the same direction. So if you wanted to change that, for instance, I'll go ahead and re-record something. Then you want to go back into this and press this button so that it changes the strumming direction. Here, record again. So now if you look at it, you'll see that the direction is this way. And it looks like it's varied a little bit. So I'm not sure if it's supposed to go both ways. That's what it seems like it's supposed to do. But when I'm looking at these notes, they all look like they're just triggering from the top down. So that's a little confusing. Now, mind you, I'm trying this. I'm not a professional or licensed teacher for this at all. I'm just trying it out, right? So we're going to turn that back off. We can adjust the articulation a little bit. And if you notice, this is an editor for the articulation, so you can preview it, change it, however you want to do. You could use the wheel. Let's see. Yeah, see if I turn it up 100%, now I'm using my wheel on my keyboard, my pitch wheel. Not pitch wheel, my modulation wheel. You'll see I can control the articulation. So now if I, hold on, get back over here. So I can get a more real to life feel when I play. Let's look at this one. Okay. Let's delete this one. And let's record with the articulation. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to record. Okay. So now where I push it, and that also has to do with the strum. Okay, so you need to play with that to get used to how much of the articulation you want, etc., etc. All right, cool. So this is why I would say this is a really good feature. If you're going to be using Ableton and you don't have scalar, or you plan on eventually going with a push of some sort, or especially if you're on pads, the launch pad or any of those type of things, and you don't have keys, this could be very valuable to you, right? To be able to use and get all your chords in there that you want. I like to, when you look at it here, you don't hear it, but I'm just doing this to show you. If you put this on the same one with your keys, let's say you didn't mind recording, so I'm going to move it over to here. So now it's here. So you can watch it while the keys go. You can actually see which chords you're playing. Now, if you want to get heavy on that strum, articulation all the way up. So when the articulation is down, and you have random variation on, you're getting random, literally random variation in everything that you do, from the strum to the articulation. It's interesting. So I'm going to pull articulation down to 1. And the strum is really heavy. Let's turn the strum off. So I like a little bit of strum on there, just not a ton, but just a little. Because what that's going to do is make it like I'm playing it a little off. Because naturally you don't hit everything at the exact same time. So I think it gives a little more humanization when you have articulation, at least at like between 1 and 3, and then maybe when you have this percentage here of your strum, at least close around 10%. And so it gives you more of a natural feel. I like the random variation at about 20%. because if you do too much, then it gets way out of pocket and it's harder to control. But this is really nice, and I haven't even used it with MPE. So if you have like the push or Expressive E keyboard or something like that, you can even get more intense with this. And I hope that one day I'll get to try that too. So anyway, this is my favorite feature. The other feature I'll show in another video because it wouldn't take this long. This one took a little bit longer. But yeah, this is coming out. It's on 12.2 at the moment, beta. So just be on the lookout if you have Ableton or you're interested in getting it. This is a feature I think that's going to add to the value of it and make it even more useful tool that you have. All right. Hope all is well. And